Today on my channel, Planner Friends, I am going to show you how we're going to do a faith study together, basically, at least part of it. I don't get through the whole thing, but I'm going to read the verses, we're going to talk about it, and in the end, I ended up including a very personal story, so bear with me on that one, but there was a point to it. So let's do this together and inspire one another. Stay tuned. Hello planner friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm One Crafty Dolo, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. Thank you for taking your time and spending it with me. I really appreciate you. If you're new, you're welcome to subscribe and tap the notification bell. If you're returning, thank you for the gift of your time and your presence. You mean more to me than you realize, and I'm so grateful for this channel, for your comments, for everything. So let's get started today, shall we? Today what I decided to do is I'm really bringing you along on this new faith study of mine. So I waited a few days to work in it so I could share it with you, if that makes sense. So I want to do this on camera to kind of show you the process. I show you decorating, I talk about my faith testimony, I talk about all kinds of things on Sundays. Sundays, it's always Jesus, Bible, journaling, faith studies, and a good mug of tea, which I have here as always. So yeah, let's get started. What I did before coming on here is, this is my Bible. It is a King James version. To be honest with you, I love this Bible. It's pretty well marked up, underlined. I would like to get myself a new one, and that's going to be one of my things this year. I really like the ESV version. Really, that makes me very happy. And what I use is the online YouVersion Bible app. So what I did before getting on here is I went on the Bible app and wrote down some of the verses and so forth. So let's get started. This is my study from the Daily Grace Co. It's preaching the gospel to yourself. And I'm telling you right now, it's supposed to be for a month. It's supposed to be doing these daily, and no way. I can't absorb it all in a day, what they're giving you to read. And I don't feel comfortable in my own, what's the word I'm looking for? My biblical knowledge, where I can just take a day or a week, or no, let's try this again. Can take a day and say, okay, I've got it. I need to understand better. That's how I feel. And so that's why I'm doing this. And it's not that I'm trying to stretch it out, and generally what I do, incidentally, in this faith planner is I start a new study right after Easter. That's always my benchmark. So what it tells you to do, first off, is today. Okay, so this day, or for me this week, and honestly after reading through this already, I'm probably going to get 2 weeks out of this one, but we'll see. The gospel and the glory of God, and it's telling you to read John 15 1 through 17, and First Corinthians 10 23 through 33. So, or no, 35, sorry. Okay, so it tells you to read the scripture first and consider the metaphors, Jesus uses, and identify who Jesus says is the vine dresser, and the branches. And I knew this verse, but I knew it was John. I didn't know the exact attributes. So I took some quotes, and it starts with, I am the true vine. So again, it's John 15, 1 through 17. So it's pretty lengthy, and it's Jesus speaking. 15, 1, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. 4, abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. And 9, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. I love that. I needed that today. I don't know why I woke up with anxiety, but I did, and I prayed it up. Believe me, I prayed it up. But this was just the fruit that I needed. 1 Corinthians 10:23 through 35. I took 24. Let no one seek his own good, but the good of his neighbor. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to read to you some of what is said here, and then I'm going to show you the process of how I do this. So I have to pull it up a little closer. Sorry, blind as a bat. Catechisms are helpful resources to learn the teachings of the Christian faith. The very first question and answer set in the Westminster Shorter Catechism is this: what is the chief end of man? Man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. There is no confusion. God made human beings to bring him glory. But what does that mean? What exactly is God's glory? Is his glory dependent on us? What are the practical implications of glorifying God? It is important to note the nature of the glory of God. It is intrinsic. God's glory is all of his attributes on display. It's who he is. Having a proper understanding of God's glory makes it abundantly obvious that it is not dependent on us. Finite beings cannot add to an infinite God. I really like that. However, God created us to glorify him. How can we glorify God when we cannot add to or take away from his glory? Okay. So then it gets into Psalm 19:1, and this is what I mean. Not only do you have the verses here, but throughout this, there's multiple verses, and that's why I feel like there's no way I can cover this in a day, much less sometimes a week. Okay, first thing I want to do is I'm going to write down some of these. I know I've been keeping my Simply Gilded pens in here, and they're lovely, but these Pentels really are doing it for me. They don't smear. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to do one. And I'm going to put, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. I love that. Okay, so I put that in there. Now I'm going to come, honestly, I feel like this is all so good and so meaty, for lack of a better word. There's so much here, so much fruit on the vine, if you will. And I'm going to put both of these in here. And that's, remember, this was 1 through 17. I only took some of this. You could easily write out the whole thing. And that's another way to do this story, would be to do this study, rather, is to take one of these pages and write the whole thing out. And there's nothing wrong with that. You could use a composition notebook. You don't have to use this, planner. So let me write these down, and I'll be right back, loves. Okay, so I wrote 15.1, 15.4, and 15.9. And what I've been doing, let me find my mile liners. I've got them. Hold on a sec. So what I'll do is take, I've been using these neutrals. I'm not even sure why I'm using these neutrals, but I really like the warm neutrals more than the cooler neutrals. So we're going to take this one, I think. And I have been highlighting in here, just like you can do in your Bible, depending on the paper you have. Okay. All right, so that's my starting point, is this verse. And it is important to me to show you the process because, again, I'm here to inspire. So now what I'll do is I'll go back in here because I feel like there's a lot here that I can quote. And I like these questions. What is God's glory? Is his glory dependent on us? What are the practical implications of glorifying God? And so, God's glory is intrinsic. It's all of his attributes on display. It's who he is. Having a proper understanding of God's glory makes it abundantly obvious that it is not dependent on us. Finite beings cannot add to an infinite God. And so what I do put quote marks around my Bible verses. I also will use quotes when I'm quoting from this, because not my words. Sorry, I'm an academic at heart, and no plagiarism. So I'm going to write a few of these parts down here, So I just took some of it and wrote, it is important to know the nature of the glory of God. It is intrinsic. It is who he is. Finite beings cannot add to an infinite God. Okay, so this is about the glorification of God. And already you can see how quickly this fills up. Isn't that amazing? I mean, we haven't even gotten near the verse from Corinthians yet, if you can imagine. Now, also, if you go a little further here, it says, Psalm 19:1 states, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse proclaims the work of his hands. And I really love that. And honestly, I want to remember it. I remember best by reading and writing things down. That's my learning intelligence, is reading and then writing it. Some people are visual learners, some are spatial learners. So I'm going to add that verse up here and then we'll highlight it. Okay, so I did want to put that in there again so I remember it. And I just like the verse, to be honest with you. I really, it's a well stated, I love the Psalms. It's just one of my books that I really, and I'm learning more all the time. At some point I do need to do a study on the Psalms. And then it says, the vast universe composed of billions of galaxies glorifies God because it displays his infinity. Oh gosh, I love that. Just that imagery of, think about, looking upwards. Have you seen photos of the universe taken by the Hubble telescope? They are breathtaking, aren't they? They are. These images simply reflect the greatness of the Creator. All of creation reveals the glory of God, the Creator. And then again, we have another verse from Romans 1:19 through 20. Since what can be known about God is evident among them, because God has shown it to them, for his invisible attributes, that is, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen since the creation of the world, being understood through what he has made. As a result, people are without excuse. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm not going to write it down, but that is a good one. And this is exactly what I mean about this study. It's just so, meaty. These verses tell us that the vast beauty found in nature is God's natural revelation of himself. Countless galaxies and the most beautiful mountain ranges and breathtaking sunrises and sunsets are his fingerprints. Nature simply reflects the greatness of God because of the way God made them. And this is what it means for us to glorify God. I love how they're weaving together the natural world, the beauty of it, and then our role in that world, all of it related to God. We simply reflect him in such a way as to show others who he is. Okay, we were created to show the world how supremely great our Creator is, and he gave us the capacity to do this because he made us his image bearers. In Genesis 1:26 is it not amazing how God perfectly crafted his creation to align with their creations to align with their purpose? So here's where sometimes I'll quote, sometimes I'll take my analyses, and here's where I'm gonna put in my own words, if you will, and I usually use an arrow here to kind of demarcate for me. These are my thoughts. So, the glory, I'm going to put in majesty of God surrounds us. We are thus created, yes, I use thus, to absorb and, what's the word I'm looking at? Absorb and appreciate all the beauty of his creation. Our purpose is to bring him all the glory. That's me kind of summarizing what we just read, but that's it. The majesty. And I'm going to add in my own little take here, if you don't mind for a minute. One project I'm working on in terms of writing, and I've written about joy, and I want to talk a little bit about everyday joy. What this is telling you about is seeing God's presence in everyday surroundings, life, etc. And believe me, friends, I have had my moments when that's hard to see, but forcing yourself to be still, forcing yourself to look around, to absorb. I had a cat who, I love my cats. This cat was a family cat. His name was Ozzy. And Ozzy was adorable. He was my buddy. We were simpatical soulmates. Ozzy got cancer, and he had a tumor in his head. And I took him to Penn Vet, which it was in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania Medicine, the best place he could go. And the cost would have been prohibitive. And where the tumor was located in his cranium, it would have been a dangerous operation. It would have been uncomfortable. So I had to make the decision to take him home and then schedule, putting him to sleep. And I was really bereft. Gonna cry. Ozzy's last week, I watched him intently because I knew this was it. And I love that cat so much. He was very fastidious. He kept his white on his chest. He was just beautiful with his big green eyes. Sometimes I see traces of Ozzy in my cat Zoe. Anyway, he would sit at the sliding glass door looking out, smelling. He did go out in the yard, but he would sit there and he just, I remember, turned his head up to absorb the sun. And I stopped and I was like, wow, he feels it. He knows. People can say, oh, he's just a cat. He doesn't know. He knew. Animals are very intuitive. They know when they're not right. And he was absorbing his time in the sun, and I thought of how many times I too have turned upwards to the sun to absorb it, to feel it. And so that helped me be at peace with this decision I had to make, that we made in my family. So what I'm saying to you, sorry, I know this may sound silly, I'm talking about a cat, but my point is, this is leading me exactly in the direction of everyday joy in Jesus and God. In other words, stop taking things for granted. See them as God's glory. And glorify him. Whew, I didn't expect it. Isn't that something? You never know where these are going to lead you. But I want to point out, thank you, by the way, for indulging me there with Ozzy. But it's true, Ozzy just absorbed that sunlight. And when I see my little Lexi cat doing that now, or I do that, or I see elderly people doing that, or even children doing that, it strikes a chord in me that was created back when. Okay, so this already is a week, and guess what? We're only here. Okay, you see what I mean? I can't digest this in a day. Cat story or no cat story. We still have all of this. And I did read these questions, but I'm going to read them again. But I wanted to show you a real view on the ground, how I'm doing this, in the hopes of saying to you, you do your study in your time. It doesn't matter how it's prescribed. I want you to absorb the information and to relate your own life to what you're reading, as I did, obviously, because that's an important component of this. Whew, I gotta go have more tea, I think. So that's it, my dear Faith and Planner friends. And I appreciate you being on this journey with me. And I hope, again, that I inspire you. Let's make a pact. I did create my spiritual wish list for the month, and seek him and put his truth into actions, right? That was something really important. And make a joyful noise, walk the walk. So who can I help? How can I help? Let's help one another in our studies and in our faith. Thank you for being with me on this unexpectedly emotional faith study with me today. Have a blessed week, planner friends. And again, I appreciate you. Bye-bye. Thank you.